Okay? Then it says, and as nails fastened by the masters of assembly. And so what it's saying is the words of the wise are as nails fastened by the masters of assembly. So they're as goads and as nails, which are both fastened by the masters of assembly. Now a nail is a sharp object, right? You got a hammer, you got a nail, right? We know what a nail is. Masters of assembly, you say, what is that talking about? That's saying somebody who's good at working with their hands. They're a master. They're very good at assembling things together. They're very good at building things. They're a master of assembling. Okay, that's what a master of assembly is. So the Bible's saying this, basically the person who assembles a goad together, or a person who basically fastens a nail. Okay? Now, the picture I want to put in your head is this. Let's say you have an object and you basically hammer the nail into the ground. Once you hammer it, is it easy to pull out? It's not very easy, is it? Especially if it's someone who knows what they're doing. Okay? A master of assembly is someone who's very good at putting things together. And it's very hard to undo what they did because they did a good job putting it together. Right. What the Bible's saying is the words of the wise, it's like they're fastened by a nail fastened by the master of assembly. Basically what it's saying is basically a sermon is preached and it's hammered so much into you that it can't be removed. You know what the Bible's saying. You know what's right. Why? Because the words of the wise are as nails that are fastened, that are hammered by the masters of assembly. Okay? Look, the unsaved world, they don't know and understand the dangers of fornication and alcohol and things like that. But when you're at a church like this, it's like the Word of God is being hammered into your heads. Right. And you can't remove it. You know what the Bible's saying, right? Amen. Because it's basically fastened like a master of assembly would fasten when the Word of God is being preached. Okay? Now, in a lot of churches, you go to them and you learn some things and you might know something and yet it's very easily removed because they didn't really pound it in with a hammer. It was basically built by someone who didn't know what they were doing. But when it's fastened by someone who's a master of assembly, it's like a nail being hammered into you, and basically you can't remove it. And look, at this church, if you backslide and leave this church and are not right with God, you know what? You can go out and do whatever you want, but that nail has been fastened in. And you know you're sinning by not going soul winning, by not reading the Bible, by living a worldly life. Why? Because that has been hammered into you. Okay? And that's why it's so important to read the Bible and to hear good preaching, because when you do, it's like a hammer that's just hammering in a nail into you. Okay?